On the line now, the Mayor of the City of Greater Geelong, Councillor Stephanie Asher. Good morning.
Good morning, Mitchell. How are you?
Good, thank you. Well, there's lots going on with council at the moment. First of all, you've had council meetings on Zoom. What's that like?
Yes, we've had our first and hopefully only meeting on Zoom. There were a few tech issues that bugged us to begin with, but that was one of the reasons we decided to do it. We got through it, and I think once we got into the swing of it, it was actually really good. But obviously it's not ideal having no public in the gallery. I think we all desperately miss having the people in the gallery, but we did need to test the Zoom meeting because if we have to go back, if for whatever reason things take a turn and we need to go into more serious lockdown, we need to know we can do it. And we picked last week because it was a really simple agenda to do so.
But what do you think about the idea, even for things like council briefings, to make the council more accessible for, say, people that have work commitments?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we're doing all our briefings on Zoom at the moment, and I think our big gap at the moment is having a hybrid model where people can actually attend in person or stream in from an external source. So that's something that we've asked the team to work on because that gives so much more accessibility to people who, can't make it into a council meeting as a councillor. If they've got parent commitments or caring commitments or whatever, we need to be able to have that hybrid model. So definitely that's something we've asked for.
Now, the council's climate planning, I've seen a few articles about your sustainability framework. First of all, there was one involving you down on the Bellarine Peninsula talking about how sea rise may affect coastal communities.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of things going on. Firstly, with the sustainability framework, we did actually defer that item from the council meeting last week just because some of the councillors felt they needed a little bit more time to incorporate and digest some of the comments. I was trying to separate it out from the action plan because the framework itself wasn't really up for feedback. It was there as a reference piece, so I wanted to separate it out because it's largely an internal guidance document, and the sustainability action plan is what's been out for consultation. That's been working on the team are working on all the feedback now to put that together. But we do have other strategies out there for consultation. It does sound complex, but it's actually all dovetailing into the same piece. And the climate change response work that's going on at the moment, a lot of internal consultation is happening to see what different departments can do to help us on the journey, because obviously the response goes across a lot of different places in the organisation. Then we'll start doing some external community engagement as well, and the draft will come back to council around early August. But in the meantime, what we've done with the sea level rise, we've applied a land subject to inundation overlay to 16 low-lying properties around the Bellarine. That's what that article was about. And this is actually, it's not great news for the people who have properties in those areas because it essentially means that a planning permit is needed for any building and works to make sure that they won't be subject to flooding in the future. So this is actually acknowledging that sea level rise may occur, could occur, is likely to occur, and addressing that and future-proofing along those lines. So that's what that piece was about.
What sort of sea level rise is anticipated?
I think they're working on a 0.8 metre sea level rise plus a major storm surge as well. So
0.8 by the end of the century, is it?
Yeah, correct.
I see.
Yep, so that photo was down at Ocean Grove, Barwon Heads, parts of Port Arlington, Moolap, Newcombe, Indented Head, St Leonards, and there's obviously that Barwon River estuary as well. And Avalon and Brimley have got areas as well. So that overlay applies quite broadly across the region.
I don't want to take away any of the thunder of our very good friends on the Sustainable Hour who do a great job covering these issues, but what sort of timeline are we talking about with these documents?
Okay, so Sustainability Action Plan will be back to us by the end of July, and that'll have also the updated framework and a new policy as well, so they'll go in as a batch. August, I think we're looking at having the climate change response plan, a more specific plan around that. The environment strategy is out at the moment, and that's one that I really want to plug and make sure everybody has a look. I had a really good detailed read the other day. It's a fantastic document. So that's the draft environmental management strategy up on the website, geelongaustralia.com.au/your say. You can go and have a look. That's up until the 26th of June. So all the feedback from all of these strategies will actually be distributed among what actually happens right across the business under the sustainability framework. So there's a lot. It looks like a lot of different documents, but this is work that's been underway across the areas in the organisation, and we're trying to pull it all together and make it a little bit more efficient. But the really big news with the climate change response is we're about to sign, or have signed, the green power for all our electricity. So 100% move to 100% renewable, which is incredibly big for us because 80% of our emissions are actually electricity related. So we do have a target of 50% CO2 reduction on 2015 levels by 2020, and this will achieve 65%. So we'll smash our target essentially. So that's really big news.
And the 100% renewable energy, when is that by?
That's actually happening now. So, yeah, that's what we're looking at.
So we're already at 100% renewable energy across the council.
If we move this, sign the green power, this is for electricity. When this is actually signed, and we just had an environment portfolio meeting this morning actually, and Rod said it's actually being signed right now. It has just been signed, so it's certainly within this week that will actually occur. So,
what sort of impact is there on the council budget if you switch from coal-fired energy to renewable energy?
I'm not sure on that one. I have to come back to you on that in terms of the actual cost, but this is again what the sustainability framework will link the financial elements to all of these things together. So it will actually be the social benefits as well as the financial and environmental benefits to everything that we do.
And in terms of the actual framework, what sort of period are you planning for? Is it the next 10 years, 20 years, century?
The framework, well, it's basically ongoing, but the framework will be reviewed every year just to check that it's still as current as possible, because we know things are changing really quickly. And because it's an area that the community really want to contribute to, you know, a lot of people want to be empowered about what they do in terms of their own sustainability, and that's, you know, survival in a whole lot of areas of the way we live. It's obviously something that does need to be refreshed and renewed, I would say, on an annual basis. But people will be giving us feedback all the time, I'm sure. But the framework's really about how the organisation itself views and manages its approach to sustainability. So it's not just environmental, it is about the social stuff, and it is about the financial management as well.
And I also saw a post about organic waste potentially being converted to renewable energy. How does that work?
Well, yeah, we've just joined the partnership with Barwon Water. This is between the G21 councils and Barwon Water, so that includes City of Greater Geelong as well. And this is looking at options for using the existing water and sewage infrastructure to turn the whole region's organic waste into energy and soil fertiliser products. So this is a really big one too. This will drastically reduce the amount of organic waste going to landfill, and that's probably our biggest issue. About a third of the waste in our bins at the moment is food scraps. So it's about 70 kilos per resident per year. So it's sort of a person's body weight per year. That's a significant amount. And at the moment there isn't any local processing capacity for food organics. So we're looking at reducing the amount of organic material going to landfill by about 20% by 2025 and by half by 2030. And that's in line with state government target as well.
So, quite a big comprehensive review, which hopefully will make some of the activists happy, the people that were campaigning for the declaration of a climate change emergency.
Yeah, absolutely. There is an awful lot of action going on, and the team has always been pretty busy in this space, but they're not the greatest people at spruiking what they do. They're busy getting on with it. So we just need to know how to actually communicate that better and reassure people that the work is actually being done. And also the idea of the sustainability framework is to spread the load across the whole organisation and not just leave it all on the environment team, because there's not a huge number of people in that team, and it does actually need to be considered by every other area of the business. So it's actually a really good news story for the City of Greater Geelong to take this approach. But it is a paradigm shift as well. So it's a matter of getting everybody's head around it internally, as well as, reassuring the various people out there suggesting that we do more, that it is actually going on, and we are well intentioned.
Now, in terms of Refugee Week, which is this week, I see the council is getting behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be marking it by acknowledging experience with some of the refugees who now call our community home, and celebrating that diversity that they bring to our region. So there'll be stories online. We'll be working with Diversitat to share some of those stories. So have a look on the website through the week and you'll see some of those things. We've been a refugee welcome zone since 2002, and we have about 200 to 300 refugees come into the region every year.
Now, in terms of the COVID reopenings, I see in the newspaper today there's a bit of a write-up from council about this, and quite a few things have opened, including swimming pools, the gallery. But the two notable things that I saw were closed as water fountains. I just wonder when water fountains might be able to come back, or are they maybe permanently gone for good, given what we've seen with social distancing and all that. And fish cleaning tables still closed as well.
Yeah, look, it's a good point, and yes, they do remain closed. We are, I don't know, likely to open them fairly soon, but we haven't set a date yet, so I don't think they'll be permanently closed. I really notice it when I take the dog for a walk because I can't stop and give him water anywhere.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's actually a bit of a critical need, isn't it? But yeah, look, there isn't a date set, but they will be opening.
And good to see markets back as well, like the Belmont Market.
Yes, Belmont Market's back. The pools are open, probably for all those swimmers out there, particularly the ones using Cardinia Park, which has been really popular, the most popular pool of all of the pools. Actually, everybody loves using the outdoor 50, but they haven't been able to have showers because we've had the showers and changing rooms closed, but they will open as of next week. So you'll be able to have a hot shower after a nice swim in the winter morning.
It's the outdoor pool.
As well. Yeah.
And just last of all, the Youth Council, I believe that was an agenda item at the last council meeting. I think the previous Youth Council focused a fair bit on mental health. What is this Youth Council taking on as their issue?
Yeah, look, that's the same continuation. They've got a few issues, but mental health is probably the biggest focus. And I mean, I think at the moment we all recognise that's a really important area for Geelong. There's been some recent suicides, which is not good news for the region. And I think the more we can do about addressing mental health and equipping people with strategies and letting people know that there's a lot of support out there, the better. And the Junior Council did a great presentation. It was our Deputy Junior Mayor, Ashley Delaney, who did the presentation to us at the council meeting. Yeah, she was fantastic. She did the report really well. And I think all these digital natives, you know, they know Zoom and all these technology wizards that they are. They coped really well, probably better than we did with the meeting last week. And they're looking at mental health first aid, so how to provide that, particularly in schools. So they're doing some really good work there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for being on the program, and we'll talk to you again in a fortnight's time.
My pleasure. Look forward to it. Thanks, Mitchell. Have a great week.
Thank you, Councillor Stephanie Asher, the Mayor of the City of Greater Geelong.